Hello again and welcome to Eye on Opticon, a podcast from Global Traffic Technologies that brings you insightful conversations from around the public safety, law enforcement, and transit industries. Our guest on today's episode is Captain Pat McDermott with the Metro West Fire Protection District in the St. Louis area. Captain McDermott is a 26-year veteran of Metro West and spearheaded the district's transition from IR to radio-based preemption. Pat, thank you for taking some time to join us today.
You're welcome.
Why did Metro West feel like it needed emergency vehicle preemption in the first place?
Well, pre-2000, we noticed a trend that the traffic congestion out here was increasing. The area had just grown exponentially with residential, and our response times were getting a little affected by the traffic different times of the day. We have two major roads in the district, really three, but two of those roads are primary traffic congestors, if you will. And those roads kind of dictated our need to really focus in on something to improve our response time. So we started using it pre-2000, the IR based, and then as time went on, we expanded that IR to most of our other intersections.
So how many vehicles and intersections are equipped with opticon? When did that installation take place?
So right now we have a total of 44 intersections. However, only about 28 of those are currently on IR, that's where we transition to the new GPS based, and all 44 of those will be covered. We have 37 vehicles. All 37 vehicles will get outfitted with the system. Our district covers about 60 square miles, or just shy of 60 square miles. Throughout that area, we encounter traffic at different areas, but primarily it's our first out vehicles. We have 5 stations, and those first out ambulances and first out apparatus, fire trucks, if you will, those are the primary users. We also put it on our support vehicles, inspector vehicles, support apparatus, rescue trucks, all the things that we use year round. And we do that because in the wintertime, if you're from the St. Louis area, you know that stick around for a few minutes and the weather changes dramatically. So we've had some significant ice storms and such. So we're able to utilize our inspector vehicles as primary response vehicles in the wintertime, and we're able to use those other support vehicles if we have another truck go down. So we kind of looked at it as a holistic approach of how we could better serve the community. And in doing that, we looked at our expansion from the IR to include the additional intersections. In addition to that, the additional vehicles to really help us, garner that holistic approach to a better response program.
Why did you decide to migrate from your legacy IR technology to radio-based preemption?
As we started evaluating our next, phase of opticon, we knew there was GPS out there. So we decided to really dig in and evaluate the entire gamut of GPS systems out there. And we found that the opticon was really the premier, system out there. We already had some of the equipment from our IR days, but realistically, if you look at the whole gamut of options, the opticon system has been around longer. It's a really wholehearted system. The programming is very easy for our staff to program. It just really worked well. And by transitioning to from the IR to the GPS, it really gave us the opportunity to control the signals instead of a line of sight where we had to approach the intersection and wait for it to change. The GPS system gave us that option to really talk to that intersection as we approached it from 3,000 or 4,000 feet away, and we're noticing that it was a better transition through the intersection for us, a more reliable changing of the light, which if you understand the walk times that are involved in a lot of these roads, for instance, one of our major intersections, Highway 100, it's a MoDOT intersection, MoDOT pathway or roadway. The signals, you have to account for that walk time. And because it's 4 lanes of traffic plus shoulders plus left turn lanes, you've got 6, 7, 8 lanes of traffic plus a median. So the walk times were holding us up. We were never garnering that signal change until after we were on the signal, whereas GPS allows us to garner that and really see that signal change as we approach the intersection. And we found that to be a really important aspect of the system. So that was kind of one of the things that drove us to the GPS, not to mention the fact that you don't have to worry about each intersection or each mast arm has to have a IR system so that it can see the vehicles, as opposed to the GPS or the radio system where you have one radio that controls the entire intersection. So there was some cost savings in installation that we saw as an opportunity as well.
How often is the system used in a typical day?
So we run 7,600 911 calls a year. Of those calls, if you break them down, we have 3 of our stations are kind of our primary hub, if you will. The other 2 stations are what I would call outlying stations. So they're a little far out. They don't have as many traffic signals. But those apparatus still respond in the metro area, if you will, or in our city area, if you want to look at it as a city. But on a daily basis, we're 15 or 20 calls a day sometimes, and that changes. It's a 911 system, so some days are heavier than others on call volume. The apparatus that responds primarily out of those busier stations, they're traveling on our state and county roads and through those intersections. So they're using it, each station, 6 to 10 times a day, as a whole. So it's really a benefit to those stations that use it more.
What have been the biggest pain points that Opticom EVP has addressed?
Kind of what I was, speaking about before. It's that line of sight. By having the GPS system, it allows our vehicle to start talking to the intersection long before we get there, so that it can decide when it's going to give us that preemption based on all the predefined parameters. And we're seeing that more reliability, and I believe it's safer for the constituents in our area. They don't have to worry that the fire truck's coming up or the ambulance is coming up behind them, and they have to figure out where to go. It's notifying them long enough before that just that natural change in the cycle of the light is allowing that traffic to proceed through, and we can proceed through. So it's from a safety standpoint, that's the pain points of the IR have turned out to be the benefits of the GPS, and we've really, that's really the only the pain points that we've seen from that.
Has your department's ISO rating benefited from this installation?
So the short answer is yes. I'm certain that it's helped our ISO rating. As a result of using the IR system for 20 plus years, we were able to see that decrease in response times. So there's no doubt that the GPS system is obviously going to allow us to continue that trend. And furthermore, by adding the GPS system to the remaining signals, that in conjunction with the increased traffic flow that we've seen over the past 5 to 10 years together, I think that's going to help us continue that, or be able to keep that very good ISO rating that we have.
You have become a huge proponent of preemption, encouraging other local agencies to adopt this technology. Why are you so passionate about this?
Preemption in general is to me is a safety issue for the public, and of course the firefighters and the paramedics. Intersections are the number one place that we find traffic incidents, traffic accidents that involve ambulances, police cars, and fire apparatus. So with St. Louis, we have 43 different fire agencies in St. Louis. As we transport patients via ambulance, like from our district, to the emergency departments, what we're finding is the traffic in those areas has become our pinch point, if you will. As we go through our district, we can get through the traffic very well. As soon as we hit neighboring districts, we're running into that roadblock, if you will. So, being a proponent for this in the technology, we're hoping that neighboring districts will grab a hold of this and see the value in it, and see the safety aspect in it. Having a continuous GPS system throughout the metro area is kind of a real, it's a real benefit to everybody. Will it happen in my lifetime? Who knows? With 43 different organizations, you can imagine the red tape that we'd all have to go through to get it. But if we start small and work our way toward that, I think that will benefit everyone. My family and friends live in the area that I work, and I've had firsthand conversations with folks that are they're happy that we have it because, looking back 10 years, they've seen fire trucks going against the flow of traffic on different roads, whereas now they're noticing lights are changing and cars are moving. They notice when the light didn't stay red very long for them, and all of a sudden it went green. They hear a siren and they realize why it did that. So there's a lot of people that are starting to realize the benefit of it. So my passion for it is really gets right down to the safety aspect, mainly because we all have family and friends that live around here. The last thing I want to do is see a fire truck on top of one of my kids at an intersection. So our goal is to get to the call in a timely, safe manner, without causing any more issues for the constituents on the road. So hopefully this is just one more piece of the puzzle that we can put in place to help that.
Yeah. And when it comes to the concept of mutual aid, it's really a rising tide lifts all boats, right? Where you want to know that you have preemption wherever you go if you're responding to a multi-agency alarm.
And that's a very good point. We have neighboring districts that we have automatic aid. It's the very same thing as mutual aid, but it's an automatic. If we have a first alarm or if we run out of equipment because we're busy on calls, neighboring districts immediately start responding into our area. And sometimes they're dispatched initially if it's a borderline house fire. So having those agencies get there as quick as we can is really a tremendous value. 25, 30 years ago, legacy construction on houses, they didn't burn as fast as they do today. Today, everything burns so much faster. So years ago, a fire could double in size every 30 seconds. Now it's doubling its size every 10 or 20 seconds, depending on the material and the makeup of the house and the material inside the house. So getting there quick, getting there safe, and getting enough people there quick enough so that you have that redundancy in your staffing to allow the first crew that went in have that level of comfort that there's another crew right behind them and they're not stuck in traffic somewhere is really important. And we find that, and I won't say it's a hard, fast rule, but a lot of house fires occur at 7 a.m. after somebody cooked breakfast or at 5 p.m. with dinner. And that's when the traffic's on the road as well. So having that preemption is just, again, another layer of safety and another layer of enhancement to our service so that we can provide that quick response.
How has your experience working with GTT been?
It's been great. When we started out, you folks had there was a few changes in some of the folks we talked to. And that's just the times. But what was good is the transition from one person to the next has been fantastic because there's been no stone left unturned. The communications, the follow-ups, they've been great. We finished all our MoDOT intersections, and that was just fantastic working with Christian and his team because questions got answered quick. The dialogue between MoDOT and you guys and just the collaboration everything was timely. It was, quick responses, emails, phone calls. It's probably been one of the easiest projects that I have worked on. Dealing with somebody from GTT as opposed to a salesperson that might just have a territory and sell 20 different widgets. It's been fantastic.
Well, we know you have a lot to do today, Captain McDermott, so we'll let you get back to it. Thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Have a great day.
That was Captain Pat McDermott with the Metro West Fire Protection District in the St. Louis area, detailing his district's migration from infrared to radio-based preemption and why he is such a strong advocate for emergency services to use EVP. Thanks for downloading today's episode. To hear past episodes, please visit our website at gtt.com or search for Eye on Opticon on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, I'm Bill Hupp, and this has been Eye on Opticon.